So maybe you do some needlepoint or macrame or a bit of knitting. Something that you, every now and then when you have some spare time or you feel like it, you work at it, peck away at it. You know, a small project, kind of fun, kind of relaxing. This is going to be my needlepoint, this little painting. It needs some work, but I'm not in a rush, so I'm just going to pick away at it here and there. Now, being an oil painting, there are windows that are acceptable to work or to paint over, you know, what you have on your painting. If you're going to paint the whole painting over, or if you're going to work in certain areas, that's fine. You should really do it within a couple of weeks, yeah, maybe at the most a month, kind of depending on the ambient atmosphere, heat, humidity, etc. Or you'll have problems with paint adhesion. If you don't do that within a few weeks, myself I shoot for a week. If you don't do that, if you don't work more in that area within a week of its last coat, ideally, traditionally, you would leave it for about 8 months before you would paint on top, because then it has to cure enough that it becomes a base. You won't have varying tensions between layers of paint. That's traditionally, and that's just with straight oil paint. Now I'm going to be pecking away at this. You know, it'll be done easily within a week or two, and the areas that I have to go over, well, frankly, the last stuff I went over was yesterday, so, you know, give me a week or two and the whole painting will be done. Not an issue. So, okay, there's my needlepoint. And my canvases are still not in at the art store, so I guess that'll be next week. So I decided I would pick up the 16 by 20. It's gives me something to paint on anyway. And speaking of adhesion, I've, like, to my experience anyway, I've found that the paint sticks better to the canvas if you remove the plastic wrapper first. So that's what we'll do. And get it on the canvas. I know, you know, I can't say that I'm all that loyal to one canvas company or another. I really just, I look at the individual canvases, and after a while your loyalty will grow, you know, if they have consistent quality. But I inspect every canvas before I buy it. This one is made by Apollon. Apparently they distribute through North America. I think the company is based out of Quebec here in Canada. Anyway, feeling it now, I really like the feel of the surface. It has a bit of bite, but not too much. That means they did not cut corners and skimp on the gesso. You'll notice that on some canvases there's so much bite there, which might be fine depending on the technique that you're using, but if the coating of gesso has been skimped on, you end up with such a strong bite. I don't like using those too much. Certainly not if I'm going to use a brush. Anyway, wrap around. Now that it's out of the plastic, I can eye it up. You know, I can see what's the straightest edge. That's the straightest edge. It's going to sit like a landscape. Straightest edge for me, I keep at the top, as a rule. Bottom edge, if there's a bit of a curve in it or a bit of a hook in it or something, I'll tend to keep it towards the bottom, because when you're typically viewing paintings, you won't tend to notice it as much if it's at the bottom. So it's good, it's straight all in all. I mean, you'd never notice it one way or the other, but I'm being a bit persnickety, and I think that's kind of important too. And I like the feel of the surface. I was planning on doing a knife painting, but the surface feels so good I might just end up, I I might just end up doing another brush painting. We will see. Okay. That's clamped in the jaws now. And we're ready to go. I've kind of been enjoying, I spent so many years, well, over the years I've spent so many hours in various boats, just looking at shoreline, photographing, sometimes sketching, but just being around the subject matter. That's one of my favorite subject matters, is looking at the land from the water. So I like clips of shorelines, bits and examples of shorelines, sometimes as studies, and sometimes, well, as you've seen, if you've seen other videos of mine, as a full-blown big canvas. You know what I might do? Maybe I'll just zoom in so that you can see what I'm talking about. This will be a little bit of shaking. Okay, editing, 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 editing. Okay, I brought that closer. Let's see. Zoom in a little bit there. Okay. All right. Now I don't have anything in mind just yet. Well, I sort of do, but I'll put a scratch or two on the painting. The thing is, I have a measuring tape handy. I'm going to, you know what? I don't like that. I'm gonna put this up a notch. Yeah. Let me just move the camera again. Editing, 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 editing. Okay. We're just gonna. Do I want rocks in the foreground? I don't know. I don't tend to think so. This is 16 by 20. Alright, so okay. I'm not going to measure it so that I know its proportions. I always just kind of go with my gut. Sometimes I'm wrong, but I just kind of like doing that. If I have something in mind, I'll go with my gut on something, and worry about everything else later. So where are we? Okay, we're at 11 1/4. So why not just put in a line at 11 1/4 right across the canvas? It's not cheating. I've painted so many horizons, it's ridiculous. So I'm just going to lay a line on here. Not super exact, but it'll do. Seems to me, I look at my marks and it seems to me that this mark's a little too high, but whatever. It's fine. I'll pick my fights. If it's crooked, I'll straighten it later. We have a few steps to go through first. So I had thought that I might have an intense large globe of a sun shining here and do a fairly stylized sky to keep some movement in there. I looked away for a moment and I looked back and I thought, nope, don't like it, don't like that there. I'm going to drop it. Drop that because I don't think I want too much water in there right now. Let's have a fairly, well, very triangular at the moment, isn't it? It might stay that way. I kind of like the look sometimes. You know, trees aren't triangular, but certain trees in certain areas are more so than others, so it's not necessarily such a bad thing. I'll give that a wipe. That just looks too, it looks too much like I just don't know what I want. Going up a little too much. Like that, like that. Put the bush in front. Yes, 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 maybe, maybe not. Yep, my dirty black charcoal remover in my left hand, and my dirty black charcoal applier in my right hand. Let's see here. See, the light I'm thinking will come from behind, so we'll have a silhouette-ish look, but at the same time, there is ambient light. So I can't have this all dark, it has to be interesting. I might just dispense with the idea of light from behind there too. I don't know. How am I supposed to know? Yeah, you know, let's do away with that. Let's do something like this maybe. Quit playing, Phil. Get busy. Make it look forceful. Make it strong. These little squiggly lines. It's I don't know why, but it's always kind of driven me nuts when I've seen somebody draw a shape with a pencil and doing this. You know, no, I understand that you're not used to, you know, drawing or what have you, that you need to do that kind of thing, but I think it's a good thing just to let your, you know, don't draw from your wrist, don't draw from your knuckles, draw from your elbow. You know, you can refine it later, which is really what I'm doing right now. I don't want, if I'm just going to set it in there for now. I don't know if it's going to stay, but I don't want the sun there. I don't want the sun directly over this. I kind of don't want it over here. It's too far to the right. I definitely don't want it back in here. If I put it here, it's directly above the highest point in the painting. That would have to be, I would have to be very subtle about where I put it. I don't know if I want to be subtle. I don't like subtle. I'm no good at subtle. I do loud and obnoxious. I don't do subtle. But I kind of like the spacing and the grouping of the trees too, so. What if we were to have one off in the distance there, ish. I could have something pretty unimportant in there. Now, is there another plane in behind there with more trees, you know? I don't know. It's not necessary, you know, but it's kind of tempting. Yeah, this is very central. Which is okay, because I can pull it one way or the other. More than likely, I'm going to pull the light off to the right in the sky. The right off to the right in the sky. The light, or the most important area of the sky, will be pulled to the right. The most important area of this isle or landmass will be to the left. So we're doing, you know, we're sort of yanking it this way. We're tormenting it. And depending on where the light's going to come from, most likely from the right, the ambient light, I can make it stronger. I can make it stronger over here and weaker over there. So that's how we escape dead center. Well, that's how I do it. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. The water, not worried about it. Let's see here. What about that sky? Nope. Wrong shape, not a bad idea, but a wrong shape. Boy, actually I could also put a lot of ambient light in there. I did that in a painting recently. It turned out really well. It just kind of, my biggest intensity was in an area, and then I would branch out from there. You know, it'd be something like light would be in here, and then we'd tone it off to darker out here. You know, but more or less the light would be in there. Maybe that's not too bad an idea. Without it, you know, without implying a sun or a source of light so much. Mind you, reflection from cloud to cloud provides its own reflections of indirect light and ambient light. So, maybe that's not a bad idea. Okay, I don't know why I'm writing this in. L and D. Light and dark. I'm maybe getting a little older, but I'm not demented yet, so I don't need that reminder. You know, and there would be most likely some indication of trunk here. No, not like that. More like this. Let me just step back a minute. Okay, I put a line here, but this line is not a cutoff point. It's just to remind myself there's a graduation and the most intense light coming from behind the island. I'm going to call it an island. From this island will sort of be along this line here, and then it'll fade off onto the edges. That's going to pull our focal area to the right. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that for the moment. Went out with my daughter on some of the gravel bars of the Fraser River this morning, and we ended up getting a little bit rained out, and it wasn't the rain so much as it was a threat of lightning. And my daughter at one point was picking up a rock and she said, "Dad, I just got a shock from the rock." And I thought, okay. We're kind of the tallest things around because you're just out on gravel bars and we're half a kilometer from land. The river's the valley that we're in was pretty wide at that point, so we decided to shut it down. It was still fun to get out there. And today's just turned into a day of rain. Okay, I'm gonna stick this up on the interwebs and I might get to washing in today. At least draw the lines in. But that'll be for the next video. I often do 2 clips in a day. Not always, but it happens plenty. Let me just square the painting up for you here so that you can see something. Get a better idea of what's there for composition. Okay, talk soon.